Try not to say hey guys. Hello. Okay, so welcome back to another episode of InSense.
That was better.
That was better.
Well done.
Okay, we're getting there. Woo-hoo. Of course, you have joined myself, Sasha, and our gorgeous
CJ or Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Honestly, if you are watching this and you ever have the cheek to call me Cheryl, we can't be friends. I literally, every time I was in my Uber the other day, Charlie. Sorry?
Do you remember when
Charlie? I've had it all. Cheryl. Like, I'm
her name is CJ or Cheryl, okay?
One of them.
Okay, just call her CJ. Just make it easier. Anyway, this episode we're going to be talking about sex. Sex with me. Sorry, no. Serious. No, but honestly, this is more. We want to delve into more of the sex with your mind, body, and soul, rather than just,
sex story. I mean, sex stories will come because there's plenty, but I think it's really nice to approach it in a softer form, and not to like pussy out of all the things that we can talk about, all. But just there's so many aspects to it, and there's so many ways or versions of yourself. To understand I think at its truest form is something that we want to talk about, and because we know, listen, I know I could talk about sex for hours, days, years, whatever.
I think a lot of people can.
Yeah, but it's knowing how to talk about it at this level, at this depth, and not feel uncomfortable, and for it to just be a really pure thing, or whatever you deem as that kind of truest.
The form. And also, I think as well, with sex, when you say the word sex openly, everyone's like, oh my god, did you say sex?
Yeah, I literally went,
oh my god. And sex is such a like unspoken or
it's too spoken about.
It's either everything's either too sexualized, or it's not spoken enough about the depth of sex and what we really want to go into with sex. So today we want to explore. We got a light, sorry. Today we want to explore a little bit about, how we view ourselves as women, how we, how do you view yourself as a woman, and when it comes to...
You know what, like this has taken a really long time, and I think with situations that arise in your life, I think it will always shift. I feel like I was objectified maybe a bit too much. Right. Obviously what I do as a living is, and I think before Hills and Fills came about, I was a dancer, let's just say before I even had a business, because you have a business and now you're strong, you're a strong empowered woman. Before, when I was a bit broke, it was just, you're just a sexy dancer, you're just sexy. So I felt like for years it was just like, oh, can you do the splits? Oh, you're well sexy. Oh, can you twerk? And it was just like, I felt like I was objectified. I felt like literally my nature was just sex. And to be honest, I probably fed into that because I was having relationships that were off, or, people cheated, all those kind of things. I think I just viewed myself as, let me not say a sexual object because it's not what it was at all, but I just kind of felt like the highest form of me was sex, not necessarily what I was giving to someone, but just that's what you valued in me, that's what you stayed there for, that's what you come into my life for. Oh, I'm just sexy. Right. And like, it's totally not that now. I do believe I've found strength in it. I do believe, oh my God, my vulnerability plays a huge part in it. I love like just feeling feminine, but I still feel like there's so much more for me to understand in my femininity, and I understand that men show up in my life to also remind me of that, because sometimes if I'm too alpha and I'm met with another alpha, it's just like clash. So when I find a softer man, as much as that can be hard for me because I've not been used to that, it's a reminder for me if I need to be a little bit more softer. And it's not like I feel like this is who I am and that's that, but I feel like I'm a strong, sexy kind of female who has tons of vulnerability. And I think that's kind of where I'm at.
That's beautiful. And how would you associate yourself with sex before versus today? When you look at sex, how do you associate sex? Like, what's
I was very detached.
What's the meaning to you?
I think I started off when I lost my virginity, and earlier on in my sex life I had like really let me not say there were serious relationships, but they were serious to me at the time, even if I was 16 or 18 or, you know, my early relationships. I was very much a hopeless romantic. I believed in love. You know, my parents have been married 25 years plus, so it was for me like love until I got so badly hurt. Like, I think my first 3 boyfriends all cheated on me.
Right.
And so it got to the point where I saw, like, I walked in on my boyfriend with another girl. So
that was
right. So, and there's so much shit that came with it. So I think for me, for so long, it was like, I am hurting.
Right.
So what do? You put up a defense mechanism, and it was like, oh, you want to fuck me, or you want to hurt me? All right, let's go, because I'm gonna hurt you 10 times harder. And that was probably my thing for like a good 3 or 4 years. It's not to say I slept around, and if I did, who the fuck cared? But that wasn't my intention. Right. It was just, if I was having sex, it was completely detached.
Right.
And I didn't want to have feelings. I wouldn't hug after sex. It would be like, all right, see ya, bye. And I was cool with that until about this year, to be honest, where I just realised I'm a very sensitive person. Like, again,
and what does
yourself.
Sex mean to you today?
Sex.
How do you associate with it today?
I do, again, I there's so many factors to it, but because I do enjoy the freakiness to it. I enjoy the absolute, like, the comfort of it, but I enjoy I can feel it, but I don't even know how to put it into words. Yeah, it is connection, but I feel like there's another word, like, just intimacy.
Right.
Like, I believe in that intimate space that you and someone build, and you build trust, you build foundation, you build, like, understanding that I like this, you don't, you like this, let me try, we like this, let's explore. There's a conversation in sex, and I feel like sometimes through insecurity and through fear, we just kind of fuck the way we know how, or fuck the way we know that feels good, and we just leave out things to feel like we just fuck.
Do you feel like talking about fuck and even things that, do you feel like sex is important in a relationship?
I
So I have a whole section for that.
This feels so relevant.
Let me hear your thoughts first.
So yeah, I do because I believe it's our nature. I believe that if we don't feel good, wanted, valued, appreciated, that we will eventually look for it elsewhere. So I think my core would tell me that, like, sex is important, but I really believe that it is the intimacy and it is the connection that will make it last. I think you can make good sex. Right. You can figure someone out. You can explore more. You can try new things. Definitely. And I think sex can build. Like, some of my relationships, I found that, like, sex was okay at the beginning, and then it was like, oh my god,
amazing,
I can't not have sex with this person ever again. You know, and you build towards that. But I think it's the chemistry with someone. I think it's the trust you have with someone. Like, to me, the great sex that I once had with some people kind of felt like trash after a while, when I knew that trust had been.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm giving you my body, but you kind of totally abused that the other day. Yeah. So why would I don't want to give you that space or that intimate part of me. And if I do, trust it's coming with a barrier, and you're gonna get this real half-hearted, stone-colded bitch CJ, which is fine if you want to fuck again. But, like, how much before I'm not bored in, like, or I feel nothing.
Right.
And I think that's what happened in a few of my, like, sexual relationships in the last few years. I just fuck until you kind of go, I'm a bit numb now, so I need to feel more. But yeah, that was a lot about me. Sash, what about you? Like, what do you see as sex? What do you see yourself as within sex? Or
what, me as a woman?
Yeah.
As in my sexuality?
Yeah.
My sexuality. I feel, before, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was younger, I used to think I have to do certain things or look a certain type of way or dress a certain type of way to be sexy, and for men, because, you know, we crave attention at some points, for men to notice me as being sexy. And I was called sexy from a young age, and I kind of craved that, and I was like, okay, so then I had to, then I played on it, right?
No, it really,
I craved it, so I played on it. I was like, okay, well, if I wear this, I'm gonna look sexier, and if I wear, and the older I've got, and the more comfortable and confident I am within myself as a woman, I feel my sexuality is just my energy. I can look like this and look hella sexy. Whereas before when I was younger, I used to think like, oh my god, I can't wear a tracksuit. That's not gonna make me sexy. Like no way. Like, and I remember my aunt. I never. And today I was actually thinking about it. She always used to say she's like the opposite. She always used to say less is more. Like, you know, you don't always need to show all of this to be a sexy woman. You know, to do this. And I was like, what's she talking about, man? She's just because she's older and she doesn't want to. Like, and I didn't understand how powerful it is when you feel sexy from within, when you have that energy, and you literally don't have to do anything. Right?
I think there's a difference between, and I understand it from a generational point of view, like, don't wear this because it's too much. Don't do this, don't do that. And the same, we've spoken about it before, when guys are like, I think a girl's this loose, she's this. Or, there's a different element of like, I'm not going to do this because I feel sexy naked in a tracksuit or in whatever the fuck I'm wearing, versus I'm doing it because to fit the quota of not sexy.
100%. You know, and I think before, for me, like I said, I used to think sexy was one look. I didn't understand that sexy came in different forms, different ways, and it came from within. That was my like I said, I craved it because I was called sexy, and you know, I was never called like, oh, you're absolutely stunning or beautiful. It was always like, oh, Sasha's sexy. So it's like, you know, so when you like, oh yeah, that girl's really. Look, I grew up with guys, so they were like, oh my god, she's stunning, she's beautiful, and it was always like, yeah, Sasha's sexy. So I just kind of played on that, and that was the.
And that's probably the alpha in us, like, because sexy comes with like a bit of a brash title, or it sounds like that, as opposed to soft and quite neutral, and you know, I think you hold a space for it. You, alright, I'm sexy, I can hold a room, so you kind of have that abrupt kind of nature. And I mean, there's so many times where I was like, can people not see this sensitive bloody soul that I have? Because like, I feel like everything's just labelled this. So again, you play up to it, you live up to it.
I definitely played up to that. But how I view myself today as a woman, I feel like me being sexy and sex comes in different versions. Different versions of me, different looks. I can still wear something tight and sexy and still show my skin and be sexy. But I don't need to always do that. You know, like I've learnt the power of a woman and what sex means to me. I say
it with when I teach, like, you know, because there's a sex expectation. You come to a Hills class and you want to be sexy. That's what your kind of prime goal is. I want to go there, I want to feel sexy. And I'm like, define sexy. Because for me, when I watch you all walk from the corner of the room, you know, and I do it on purpose, I make you feel uncomfortable, is because when someone looks down because she's nervous, that's sexy. When someone sticks out their tongue, that's your sexy. When someone plays with their thing and they close their eyes, that's your sexy. And my thing when I kind of tell my students is, please own whatever that is for you. Again, knowing those different versions, like there's different versions of myself when I'm having sex, and I really just want to have, I don't want to be the playgirl version of myself. I don't want to be the porn star version. I just want to be Sherelle. I want to be like in a loving form with you. I want to show you that I care. And that doesn't require all the extra, As I say to my girls, walk from one room to the other without having to do too much. Own it in just your walks. Look at me and let me feel whatever it is you're feeling. You don't have to, row, yes. If you want to, because some days that's the fuck how you feel, do it. But do it because you know that's you and that is your version of, you know?
No, definitely. You have to just, when you feel sexy, you feel sexy. That doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing.
I have a question. Have you ever had like a negative connotation or a negative reminder of sex, or something that made you kind of not feel valued, or maybe feel insecure about sex because of a comment or things that...
For sure, definitely. When I was younger, I started late. I started quite late and wasn't sexually active, and when I was younger, I kept myself to myself a lot because, again, I grew up with boys, and I had a lot of guy friends around me, and I saw how they spoke about women and how they treated women. So that kind of like put up a lot of barriers, right? Again, the alpha came out a lot of barriers, and I remember when I was, two things that that bring negative like memories. One, when I was very, very young, I think I was about 10 or 11, can't remember, but I was sexually abused. Again, something that I'm very open about it now because I'm comfortable about it, but you know, that also made me associate sex with shame.
Yeah, of course. And you carry that.
You carry that, and I carried that through into a lot of my sexual relationships when I was older, and I didn't understand because I kind of brushed it. What I had done, I brushed that.
Did you feel like there was ever a moment where you forgave the person or forgave yourself rather, actually?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Do you feel like it was a distinct moment, or just it kind of just naturally like disappeared?
I think it naturally just. I didn't speak about it till I was, because I was about, again, 10. I think I was 9 or 10. Yeah, it wasn't 11. It was 9 or 10, and it was actually through someone that we knew, and that it was a friend of my mother's. And again, in my culture, it was like, you don't talk about things like that. And because I was so young, I used to think I thought it was my fault. Yeah. And as you do, when you're that age, you don't understand. So I kept it to myself. It was shame. And one day, I blurted it out to my mum when I was about 17 years old. We had an argument, and it came out. And when it came out,
how long you was carrying that?
I carried that for so long. And when it finally came out, you know, I was very lucky that my mum is such a supportive, open and understanding person that, you know, she took me to therapy straight away, and she believed me. Because a lot of parents, they don't want to hear
it, or they just kind of brush it again because of the culture, or
the culture, or who it was. Yeah. They would have said like is she lying to get attention? Is it for attention? Anyway, that happened, and then throughout my relationships with guys, I carried that shame. So I was very close. So I was, you know, I remember this guy said to me, "Oh, you're shit in bed anyway." Like, you're really. He called me up, and I was literally. I think I wasn't in love with him because I was so young, but as I was in my early 20s, and it was more lust. It was such a lust, and I didn't understand. And I was like, he literally said, "Yeah, you wouldn't be my girlfriend because you're shit in bed," and that comment literally, like, that comment stayed in me for such a long time.
So funny, people say that like words don't hurt.
They
and I'm
really
like,
did.
Not only do they hurt, but they last. Fuck me.
I was so young.
Carry on, and like you take it onto relationships. You know, one person might say something that you do in sex, and then you think for the rest of your life, oh my God,
honestly,
am I doing this right?
I literally thought for them for quite a long time. When he said you're in shit in bed, like that just, and he said it, he didn't just say it once. Every time that something happened I got close to him, and he wanted to hurt me because of his ego, and I was so young, I didn't understand. Of course. He kept saying, well, you're really shit in bed anyway. You're shit in bed, Sash. Like, this is why, we can't keep doing this because you're in shit. You're not exploring. You're frigid. You know, like all these words, and that I literally goes, I'm only saying. He would literally twist it around. He goes, if I wasn't a true friend, I'm only telling you this because I'm a true friend, and you'll thank me one day. You'll thank me one day when you know. And I was like, I fell for it, and I was like, oh my God, what a good friend that
it's such a shame that I guess a lot, and that's why I understand why our parents say, you know, wait, and you know, don't have sex until you're older, because it's such an intimate experience that, you know, comments or physical things that happen during sex you do hold on to. And like, I remember things that, you know, my exes would say, just even in the relationship, not necessarily just during sex, that, you know, you have an argument, oh, you're a slag, you're a slut, you're a hoe, like, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. I remember hearing those kind of, and those things would literally, every single time I was single, I'd think, well, no one wants to be like my boyfriend, they just want to fuck, they just see me as, you know, a fuck, and then, you know, and just because my ex used to cheat and he used to be insecure and paranoid, whatever he used to do, he used to put that onto me. These times I wasn't even doing anything, I was literally like fucking besotted, but it was like, you're this, to the point where you literally start believing it. It literally takes, and I remember, I can't remember the exact thing, no, I probably can. I vowed to myself, and I think this is why I probably do take myself so seriously now when it comes to empowerment. But I remembered my ex, maybe after like 4 or 5 years of being with him, and honestly, like, he cheated on me multiple times. Found him, caught him, all of that stuff.
Naughty boy.
But I know.
Naughty boy.
And but you know, more for me. But you have to go through these things, and it's like that same thing when you tell your friends, don't do it. You have to let people do it and experience their own thing in their own time. They have to walk away when they're ready to, because sometimes you'll walk away, you're not ready, you keep going back. But I remember one time I met up with my ex because he wanted to get back with me, and we met up in Vapiano's, and he was such a arsehole. He was an arsehole. I mean, I don't know if he'd ever watch this, but my point is, he came in on the phone to another girl. And he's like, talking, and I'm like, I'm waiting, he's already late, and I'm like, okay, right, let me just suss out the situation. I'm like, are you good? Can we? And he was like, yeah, 2 seconds, he's on the phone. I'm like, alright.
Wow.
We start speaking, and he's just like, he asked me to meet up, by the way. He asked me, can we meet? So I'm like, yeah. Anyways, this call comes back in, and he's basically on the phone deciding when he's going to see this person later on that evening. Like, I don't know about tonight. I'm just with someone now, but like I can shout you later. Like I might be able to meet you. And I'm literally like, I'm like, are you okay, hon? So literally, I'd done this. It escalated and we did argue. Can't even remember how it got there, but I was like, move from my table, move, bye. It was like a running joke in my friendship groups that like if we was ever out, it'd be like, move from my table, bye. And I don't know, the savage in me, but I remember from that day, never again, ever, move from my table, bye, bye, yeah, you know, bye, move, bitch. And I feel like from that day, it was just the enough. It was like the done. It was like, and even though, you know, he'd done way worse to me in the past, Jesus Christ, there's so many stories. That was just the final straw of, you've asked me for my time. You've made me come here. Not only have I waited for you, you've come on the phone to someone. Now you want to speak to someone. Now you want to embarrass me. I'm done. Yeah. And I think from that moment, sexually, romantically, intimately, whatever you want to call it, I was like, no. I am enough. Even if you've made me feel to the point where I am like nothing, right, I am still enough in this nothingness space, right, to know that I will never let someone do that again. And 100%. I think that's why now I'm so fucking passionate about like women just holding their strength, right, like sex or no sex, like you are a fucking enough, and like I'm so 100%. Passionate about it. Yeah. And I think like you will find experiences that, you know, oh god, they're manipulative or they're a bit toxic or not, but you know your gut will tell you when you're in something that's wrong or right for you, and you know you'll be making up excuses. I knew that whole 5 years it's wrong, but you know. I
think we can, like, when you are in that situation and you've got into that mental space and of that person is literally in control of you, and you've let yourself go to them because you've lost your self-worth, you lost your self-confidence, you feel like you either have to do certain sexual activities to make your partner happy or satisfied, and like there'll be a time where you're gonna think no,
you know, but I'm enough even if I do this or I don't, or if you approve or you don't. And I think it's that thing that like, I am experiencing it in my life right now, where you have to evaluate in your situation, like, what is good for me to grow here? Like, is it something that's testing me in a relationship that I can grow from this and I can learn from this? Or is this damaging or like knocking at my self-worth or confidence? Because I think at that point you have to evaluate, like, am I just getting tested here in a good way, in a positive way for me and my partner to grow and, you know, look at a situation and be like, can we move forward from this? But if you feel like someone is just out to just...
if you know you're in a whether it's a relationship or situationship, and it's just like you said, you know, you're gonna, you know, you're trying to build on something, and if it's just like literally damaging you and bringing bringing toxins into your world, then leave that situation, because sex is such, we forget how sacred it is. Sometimes we've literally it took me years to understand, you know, from the guy telling me that I was shit in bed, and then years later he appears and he's, you know, and as happens,
they all come back.
He wanted to, like, he forgot that he told me those things, and he was like, oh, I did,
half the time. That's like my ex used to say to me, I never said that.
He was like, nah, Sash, like, I only told you because I had the best, if I did, it's because I had the best interest of you. And then all of a sudden I was this amazing girl that he wanted me to be his girlfriend. Surprise, surprise. Anyway, the point is, like, don't allow someone else's insecurities, someone else's who's toxic, who doesn't understand the beauty and the sacred of what sex means spiritually as well. You know, it's not just a sexual thing. And I went through of then, you know, 7 years with my ex-boyfriend at the time, not doing certain activities because I thought, oh my God, again, I associated with shame because I thought if I do this, if I do that, he's going to think I'm a hoe, he's going to think I'm a slag. And he kind of had that old school mentality. He still kind of does if he watches this, like, oops.
Hello.
Where he thought, no, I'm sure, which is fine, but he's, you know, he used to say, if, you know, like doing that, you're associated as being a slag, doing this. And it was ingrained in my head. It was in my 30s. It's only in my 30s when we split up and I started to understand and explore myself sexually. I even went through a period of being celibate for a long time to then really connect with myself.
I was just going to say, like, what did that do for you? Or what was the kind of major lessons? Because I feel like some people have this understanding of like celibacy and it's religious and it's a place to be holy. And what was your one reason behind it? And two, like, what did you kind of really learn from it and what you would take into...
I wanted to like, for me being celibate, it was more of a spiritual thing for me. It was a spiritual thing as in I wanted to understand. I wanted to make myself, I wanted to release all the energies because, you know, when we have sex, as I always, if you guys hear me, you know that I'm always talking about saging the genitals, right? I love to sage a dick. I'll tell you the reason.
If you are a fresh listener, you're probably like, sorry,
what?
What did she just say?
I'll get back to that in a second. But again, going back to the spirituality thing of it, like, you know, when you have sex with someone, especially when a man, sorry to say this, but when a man comes in a woman, whether he's wearing a condom or not, that may be protecting him from giving you STDs or giving you, you know, sexual transmitted diseases, but it's not protecting you from his energy.
Yeah.
The energy that he is leaving in your womb, in your DNA, right? As women, we have a chip in our DNA then. So if he's been in multiple relationships before you, or if he's had a shit day, whether that's your husband, partner, or situationship, you have to understand when you have sex with that person and that man comes, right? He's releasing. It's a release. He's releasing all of that energy. And I was like, fuck.
It's
like,
transferable energy. It's like you literally take it on.
And we have a you know, we have 7 chakras, and there's one chakra here called the sacral chakra, which you hold a lot of your sexual energies in. And I held a lot of, like, from my past, I hadn't let go of, like, you know, the abuse, the shame, the guilt, the not understanding who I was. So I literally wanted to go celibate. I didn't put a time on it of like I'm going to be celibate for a year or 6 months. It literally just started like, do you know what? I don't want to have meaningless sex with anyone. And I don't want to have sex because I'm horny, because that's what we do as humans, as women. I want to get mine. I want to go get some dick. Yeah. Like, no. I wanted to, like, literally
understand yourself.
Understand myself and who I am. And
without sex and the societal pressure that comes with, you know, not being lonely, having someone, having company, having sexual company, you know, is a big, like you just said, I need to go and get mine. It's, you know, I know, like, I sometimes match that male energy when men are getting theirs. I'm like, oh, fuck that. If they get theirs, I'm gonna get, you know. But actually, do you need it?
We've all gone through that stage. You know, I've gone through that stage. You've gone through that stage. Yeah, that's just my booty call. Yeah, he's just good for sex. He's not really boyfriend material, but I'm gonna just keep. Sorry, I'm just gonna have. And you don't understand what you're. That's again going back to, we forget how sacred sex is, how sacred our bodies are, how sacred our energies are. So yeah, I mean, again, you know, I had to go through that for my own. And now when I do have sex with someone, I like to sage them.
Come on, talk us through. Like, okay, so what would be, like, okay, you've met someone new, he knows nothing. What is the, like, okay, I need to tell him about this, or the process into, all right, here's a sage,
so sage, if anyone knows sage, I'm sure it's become very commercial now. Most of you must know what sage is. Sage is, it's a herb that when you dry it, it cleanses the air, it cleanses energies, it gets rid of bad energies. A lot of, actually in churches, you'll find that there's a lot of sage because they burn off bad spirits with it, right? So it's been used for thousands of years. So, you know, of course you sage the house, you sage, and for me, I think it's really, people find this funny, but it's actually, I take it quite seriously. I'm laughing because I know the reaction. But I feel like we need to make sure we're not in a toxic place when we're having sex with a man, and that that energy's cleansed. And again, when I'm telling a guy I'm going to sage you, some people are like, what the hell is she talking? What are you on about? Like, what? You want to sage my dick? Like, but when I actually explain it to a guy and like, I'm like, yeah, because I've already made sure that I'm good, that my energy's good, that I've saged my
so special.
Nuni, and now that I'm going to sage yours, I'm literally, I want to get rid of that energy because I want us, the first time, it's like that pure energy to connect.
Like, and actually, when, you know, and I've never done it, but when I've listened to Sasha's interpretation of it and why she does it, and I've explained it to a guy, it's kind of like, that's quite attractive, it's quite appealing. Like, you know, my idea of it is just like, I want to have sex. I remember trying to explain it to someone and he took it the completely wrong way, because I said,
what did you say to him?
I said, I want to get rid of the sexual energies that I have inside me. He was like, well, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, obviously, like, you know, if I recently had sex with someone, I carry that sexual aura with me.
Right.
And, you know, that person might come into my head. And he was like, so what are you saying? So he was like, what are you saying? When you have sex with me, you think about him. And I was like,
oh, no, sis.
And I was like, no, but actually, like, I did kind of mean that. Not in a sense of, like, when I'm having sex with you, I'm thinking about someone else. But, like, I want to make sure that when I enter a new sexual relationship, I'm not having to think about ex's sex and this person's sex. I want to be in this with you. I want our sex to be so
100%.
important that I'm thinking about me and you, our bodies connecting, our bodies aligning, and us being together. Like, I get it. Fuck. Growl. Do all the naughty shit. I get it. Listen, and we'll talk about that another day because I got plenty of story. But I'm just saying, for that connection, like, it's magical. Like,
it is. Totally.
And it is what's the word, like, it is sexy though. Like, that is sexy to me. Like, a guy saying, I want to be in you, for you, and you only. I'm like, yeah.
That is
like, if a guy said to me he wants to sage me, I'd be like, here you go. Literally, take it.
And if y'all taking note. But no, honestly, like, it is important that we, you know, now I don't feel like I need to have sex because I'm horny. Sorry, Mum, if you're watching. But,
I've been thinking about this the whole time. I've been like, please, Dad, don't watch.
But I don't feel like, oh my God, let me go get mine. I don't have that urge anymore because...
Yeah, we definitely might have thoughts, but that urge is certainly not at the forefront.
Like, I have done it. I'm not going to say
but my point is that before, it used to be so impulsive. Like, anytime I even had a night off, it would be like, well, why wouldn't I go and have sex? Like, I just had a dick appointment. Like, I'm gonna go and get mine. Like, it was standard. I set it up, and you when I was you know.
It was.
Whereas now it's like, if I really, really was still in, like, I could sort myself out, or I can, you know, I can go that day extra without not having it, or week extra, because there's so many other things in my life that I value that I just choose not to go down a route that is not gonna satisfy me. Like, I don't want to be in a situation that's, like you say, you go and you kind of get it, and you're like, I feel less than what I did.
And have you noticed that when you have been in that situation where you may think, oh my God, I cannot live without Yardie Yar's dick, when we're dignitized, let's keep it real, when we've been dignitized, and ladies, I know we've all been dignitized at some point in your life. You're lying if you say you haven't, unless you've been married for 40 years, and I'm sure even
unless you haven't found the dick yet,
right?
And that's
You've all
fine.
been dignitized,
it's gonna come,
right? We've all been it, and you know, you got it, you're like, yeah, like, he gives the best, yeah, oh my God, he rocks my world, whatever, fireworks and all of that. But when the energies that are not correct are entering you, you leave that space, you leave him, you're feeling shit the next day. You don't understand why, because you're like, I had amazing sex, I don't understand.
And then, you know, of course you are taking that person's energy on, and you don't know what that person's going through, whatever, taking it on. But not only that, you also know it is just sex. So there comes a point where you start to either understand yourself more, you value yourself more, and you start thinking, it's just not enough. And I remember the guy who I was doing this with, he said, like, don't you want more? And I think even in that moment, I was like,
wow.
Oh, yeah, I do. And I knew he couldn't give me that. He was very vocal about it. And, like, you know, in a completely honest way, I knew that he was right. But it did make you kind of think, like, maybe I do want more and I deserve more, and it's absolutely fine if you're in a place where you're like, I don't actually want anything more either. That's fine too, but understand, like, like how you want to feel nurtured and how you want to feel like good
right.
inside.
100%.
I remember one time when I wasn't celibate for like a long period of time. I think it was like 4 or 5 months. But it was the longest for me. Like it was the longest for me.
It's different for everyone.
And I remember I was with a guy at the time, like someone who I'd been with for a long time, and anyways, he knew that we wasn't having sex. He knew that was out of the question. And anyways, he had a really stressful night that night. We were spending the day together, and he'd had this argument on the phone, and he was like all ratty and annoyed. And I was thinking, imagine if, you know, the celibacy was out the window and I was having sex, I'd be taking that on right now. But instead, what I done was I talked to him about it. I ended up calming him down. We then ended up, I remember we went to my room and I was like, do you want to meditate and just like kind of get rid of this? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we done that. And instead, we didn't have sex, but we was like intimate, kissing and whatever else. And I felt so much more connected to him. But I thought, in that moment, if I hadn't have done that, one, we wouldn't have created that space because sex is so easy to have just had just because we wanted it to. Two, he wouldn't have got rid of that energy or even acknowledged that he had it. He just would have fucked me and got out his frustrations. Oh, come by. And now I'm left with it. And three, we just wouldn't have been able to share that magic if we didn't have the level of
that moment.
What?
Can I tell you what you had? You had a spiritual orgasm.
No, it was
honestly,
he even was like, right, this is all nuts.
You had a spiritual orgasm, and I think that's such a beautiful, magical thing that we don't even think about. You just kind of like, and you know, even those 4 months for you, CJ.
No, I know.
Well, now, if I was to ask you now versus before, what is sacred for you when it comes to sex? How do you define?
I think for me, it's the it's not so much like it's not about, what's the word, being like, we don't have to be like in a relationship and it has to be like super loyal, but I like to feel like together. I like to feel like we're in this together. So I'm not interested if you're out fucking multiple people. I want shared energy. I think because I know that my energy is so sacred, and just even in the way that I carry myself and what I want from myself day to day in my life, I just want that to be shared like properly, as opposed to just willy-nilly out here. He's having that person and then I'm taking on her problem and then her problem because she's fucking this. I want to have something intimate, so a space that's trusted and intimate. It's not necessarily like anything deeper than that. I just think that is really important to me. But yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's nice. Like I hope you guys might have understood a little bit more about the other side to sex, because as I say, like, sex can be so heavily talked about in like a quite graphic way and quite an open way. And as I say, we're multifaceted at all times. We can switch from person to person. Yeah. Like, I can sit here and tell you the most. But I think it's nice to strip back and talk about what is also important, because sex isn't just once, like a one-off thing. It's so, like, it has to make sense for the rest of your life. So you might as well experience it in all forms. And understand it at its purest. So
100%. And remember that sex, understand yourself first. Understand your soul spiritually, so you're able to connect that little bit much more deeper rather than just fucking someone.
Yes, your soul and your body. Right. Like, figure yourself out for your mind, but figure yourself out for her as well. Figure out what she likes by herself. Spend time by yourself, having a good time.
Oh gosh,
I feel no way to say figure that shit out, so that you don't have to have that awkward space when you're with someone and not telling that person what you do and don't like. It's like, no, bitch, this is how I like it. I'm going to show you instead. Right. Like, I know it sounds very extreme, and if you're like not into it, I get it, but that's another major part of understanding yourself sexually, and what you want spiritually, because if you're aligned with your body and its 100%. Needs, then you're going to know what you want from someone else.
And get that sage, guys. Get the sage for the man.
Maybe another video she can do a little tutorial. I'll lay down for you.
I bet they'll love that. If you want that.
No, that'll be someone's fucking like wank bang. Like, someone will fucking
what? No, listen, if you want a tutorial on saging, comment right now.
A down. Cool.
But yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back next time, maybe a bit more naughty, but we'll see.
Love and light.